Katrin, how are you?
I'm good today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I know your research focuses on reorienting education for sustainability,
hmm
but I'm thinking I want to know, your viewpoint about how to make education itself more sustainable.
hmm Yeah, that's an interesting question. Um, Let me think about that. I believe a traditional viewpoint of society on education was always you would go to education, you would achieve a certain state, you would attain a degree, and from here on it would qualify you to participate in life, in work, etc. But what we really need to see is that education is like a seed, and sometimes you're sitting in school or you're sitting in your community because we're not only learning informal education, we're
Yeah.
learning all day from people that are not formal teachers. We're learning from everyone.
Learn from experience.
Exactly. We're learning from everyday moments, and sometimes those learnings are much more meaningful than those that the math teacher is trying to convey. But yeah, the idea of education being a seed that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be watered, needs to be fertilized, and then turns into this ever-growing plant, and into this plant that kind of accompanies us in our life, our knowledge, our experience, also the emotions that are attached to it, all the feelings that come with learning and with knowledge is something that we often don't quite acknowledge. And that's where I feel the idea of lifelong learning, where you're not going to school and then you're ready for life. No, in today's world, it's a start. It's a starting point. It gives you some level of foundation, and then you will continue to learn and you will return to school. And the learning outcomes and the revelations that you have from your learning, they sometimes come like 5-10 years later, that you're finally understanding something that you were taught so many years ago. And finally, things are making sense. That's why I think a lot of elementary school teachers are really happy when students are coming back and say, hey, wait a second, you taught me this, and later on in life, this happened.
Yeah.
And those are, I think, the real meaningful learning stories. Yeah. So, and I think that what makes education really sustainable in cultivating a culture and a philosophy of lifelong learning.
hmm But mostly right now, what I see education, not like that. For many kids, they take education not as part of good life. They just want to get educated, looking for good life. So they work hard every day, just assignment, work, test, from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., more than 12 hours study, working, assignments. So take education not part of good life, just take education as prepare for good life. This is what situation right now in many places happen.
Yeah, admittedly, that is one of the challenges. How can we create that joy of learning versus the pressure of collecting another credit point or collecting good grades? That's exactly, I think, the challenge that we're in. Whereas we need to have some level of assessment and evaluation. I think I often hear students say, "Oh, a school should be without marks. It should be without evaluation. It should be without school report cards." We may need some level of assessment and understanding, but there also needs to be that room to enjoy what we're doing and understanding. And I think that's one of the most important things that are happening in school, to understand yourself, you understand your potential, to understand what you're good at, and also understand what you're not good at, what you have to work on, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and creating an atmosphere of good learning where not only success but also failure is possible, is a challenge in an admittedly, again, very formalized school and overall education system. And I think opening up and giving room for individual learning and flipping classrooms to give students the opportunity to also designing their own learning journey. Those are, I think, new ways of learning that are now like never before possible through AI. If we're looking at this entire development of artificial intelligence, where we can create digital learning bodies, where we can create individualized learning journeys, individualized curriculum, offering different styles and different courses to different students, is I think a whole new world that is opening up at a tremendous speed right now. And I think there will be a lot of new opportunity for students to reacquire that joy of learning. At least I'm hopeful that this will be happening.
Do you mean right now, because AI is huge knowledge base, as an individual student, we don't need to know so much knowledge, so we can inquire knowledge from AI. In this case, they don't need to put so much hours to study.
Yeah, to some extent. I don't believe AI is so much of a knowledge finder. If we're looking at, if I'm talking about large language models, at least they're creating patterns. They don't always tell us the truth as facts and what is truth to begin with in 2025. What's left of truth and facts. But overall, I think assessing today's challenges, today's phenomena, trying to understand and place them within history, within current events. Those are the real knowledge missions, I think, that students have to undertake. They may be receiving a fact or a perceived fact from AI, but how do you understand whether this is true? Whether this is a perspective, what kind of perspective does this include? Where does this fact belong to? Where can I attach it in the broader, history and broader politics in my society? Where does it make sense? Those are the real skills I think that we need today. Understanding what is true, what is a lie or an interpretation of the truth, and what can I do with that knowledge, and what is my responsibility within that overall system. I think this is what is the real learning nowadays.
So how we can help students develop this kind of ability?
Yeah, and assessing, understanding, critically evaluating. I think those are also the sustainability competencies that are often being brought forward in those global discussions. Anticipatory thinking. Here's a fact. What does this mean in the future? Here's a problem. How are we going to solve that? How can we collaborate to solve a problem? How can we understand each other's cultures of problem solving? Yeah, I often bring the example of math. Everyone thinks math 1 and 1 is 2. Very simple. Mathematicians see that differently. And also the culture of solving math problems is a dimension that people often think it doesn't exist, but the culture dimensions may have such an impact on what we understand as knowledge to begin with.
So what do you think? How we can change our current situation system to help students build that kind of ability? What do we need to do with current situation system?
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges that are very hard to tackle. In order to offer this kind of learning, we need to offer complex problems in the classroom. We need to be able to have critical debate. We need to address issues that are multi-layered, that don't have a simple solution. But those challenges, I often refer to them also as big sustainability challenges. AI is one of them. What will AI do to societies? But those topics are very hard to teach. They're sometimes seen differently by different people. So you have debate in the classroom, you have opposing views in the classroom. You may not be able to offer a solution. And those are very tough challenges for teachers to navigate, that teachers are not often comfortable doing, are not always equipped, not trained to do so. And also parents are often not equipped to get students back from school that didn't come home with a solution, but came home with a lot of food for thought, but not any way of solving that issue that they're tampering with.
So it means if you want to change education system, first one they change teachers, right?
Not change teachers, but help teachers to navigate the classroom and also make schools safe for them. We often talk about safe schools for teachers. For students, safe schools for students, but are our schools safe for teachers to teach these issues?
What do you mean safe to teachers?
I always say when you get the call next day from the parents, what the hell were you thinking to teach this? Then you know that you taught a real sustainability issue. Because those challenges are critical. But if we want students to do critical thinking, to learn how to interact with uncertain and within uncertainty, without clear solutions, then we need to teach those challenges that are not easy to bring to an end. And our teachers need to be in an environment where they can do that, where they have the backing of a principal, where they have the backing of a system to be able to not offer the responses, but pose the questions.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.